Hello and welcome to GPTV on Tuesday the 8th of April. My name's Phillip Kingston.
And I'm Gary Peer.
And Gary, another huge week in Melbourne real estate. In fact, another huge week in Australian real estate week. I see that all of the national capitals are on fire.
It's a very, very big weekend. The mood is strong, Phil. The vibe is high and the results are very compelling.
Incredible, because we've had huge week after huge week after huge week in Melbourne. We've just finished a weekend, Gary, where 20 is starting to become the norm. I pinch myself to think that 20 auctions a weekend would be our norm, but it has been for the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Very exciting. And this weekend, Philip, we sold a big 15 out of 20. That's a 75%
75%, Gary. Now, the REIV...
Industry average 70%.
Well, let's talk about that, because the REIV, which compiles statistics, is calling a 70% clearance. But there's another company called RP Data, which we're not going to plug, but RP Data also compiled, and RP Data's come in at 64%. And with the REIV, they acknowledge that it takes them a few days past the weekend to actually compile all of the figures, because a lot of agents, we're not one of them, but a lot of agents, if they're not happy with their results, don't necessarily disclose, which does distort the figures.
They hide, don't they? They go into hiding, Phil. You say, did you sell that property on the weekend? You just can't find them. They're in the garage, they're behind a rock somewhere.
Well, I think the interesting thing on that is that GPTV viewers, you can be sure that if we've had a great weekend, we're going to tell you. If we've had a bad weekend, we're going to tell you very quickly and then cut to another segment. But when we say we've sold 75%, that's a real number. It's not a number we're going to change next week or 3 days later. It is the actual...
Not marked up, not marked down, it's not underquoted, overquoted. It's the facts, Phil.
It's 15 out of 20, 75% clearance. So once again, we kick the backside of the industry average.
Philip, tell us about where we are right now.
Well, Gary, I'm very proud to say we're at home number 1 at number 2 Stephen Street in Caulfield. I was just telling to my son Jacob, who is to our left watching the filming of GPTV. So proud to have him here. I was just saying that these homes have been built by a friend of ours, a man who goes under the company name of Harwich Homes, who has been responsible for some of the best real estate, the best homes and apartments that have ever been built in Caulfield. So proud to be representing him again. We have 3 homes here, Gary. The back one has been sold. The middle one is now being held back by the developer. I think he's going to keep it as an investment. But the front one, this is the most incredible property. 3 bedrooms, 2 glamorous bathrooms, the most incredible entertaining spaces. Gary, 3-metre ceilings, not 2.8 or 2.7, but 3-metre ceilings, ducted heating, ducted cooling, everything that you could ever want is here. So get on down and have a look at the most beautiful single-storey home you could ever possibly buy. How's that for a wrap, Gary?
Not bad. In the early days of our business, Philip, we sold some units in this street. In fact, they were developed this street, we're talking about 25 years ago or so, and they actually had to plant the street with trees at that time as part of the council requirement. It's always been. Now they're established, Philip. They've been around for a while, just like we have.
Yes, Gary, and you're not necessarily looking as good as some of those trees.
Oh, come on.
They're looking healthy and their leaves are glossy and glowing, whilst your skin, I think really you need to take some time off and maybe book into a wellness centre.
Well, stop working me so hard and I will. Let's talk about the market and the weekend auctions, Phil, because there were so many of them. We can't talk about every one of them, but let's talk about some of our auction highlights, Phil, because one of them you were involved with in Kean Avenue, just a hop, skip and jump away from where we are.
Perfect segue, Gary, because this is an interesting case. The vendors bought this 2 years ago and paid $1,120,000 for it. They had intended to do a major renovation, got building plans, got permits, and then they made a sea change and went down to Torquay. All they did to this property over the 2 years they owned it was cut the lawn in the back, so did not spend any money on the property. We sold it on Saturday for $1,360,000. So that property's gone up $240,000 in the space of 2 years.
Is it the market or is it the agent?
Well, I'd like to think, Gary, that it was a competitive auction and I think I did a pretty good job. So I'd like to say I had some hand in that price elasticity, but that is a really good market story because it really does show a property being sold twice in 2 years, which is unusual in Caulfield North.
The power of auction, I'd like to talk about it for a moment because there's a few things that happen on the weekend that can only happen at auction. One of those things, Philip, happened to me in Wellington Street while you were having a lovely time in Kean. I was battling away there in Wellington Street, St Kilda, at the most wonderful apartment. And lo and behold, Philip, somebody who bought it just rocked up at the day, and the gentleman, who I won't name, because out of respect, happens to be a footballer for your beloved Demons, Phil.
Yes, well, let me talk about my beloved Demons, Gary. They went to Sydney on the weekend and they had their bum kicked by GWS. So it seems to be that the only success that the Melbourne Football Club is having at the moment is buying real estate in St Kilda. So, you know what, they can't win a game, at least they should invest in property.
Now, 52 Briggs Street, Caulfield, that was an auction that you did, and we've got a new category of undisclosed. We've got undisclosed in the paper, but some of them aren't always undisclosed on GPTV, so an exclusive for viewers. You can talk about that auction, Phil, and the ultimate selling price.
Which one was this, Gary?
52 Briggs Street, pay attention. 52 Briggs Street.
Down a little bit
I can
there.
see that.
That was a fantastic auction, Gary. A crowd of about 150 people. We're on the market there at $1 million. Sold competitively for
$1,072,500. Well done.
And a special shout out to two women that were bidding there at the auction who weren't successful, but they came to an auction in Lockhart Street on Sunday, which was also a booming result.
It was a boomer.
Where they were the underbidders there as well. So hopefully our team will give them every piece of assistance in helping them be successful in the next few weeks.
Well, Lockhart Street, you can talk about it because the price is undisclosed, but not for GPTV viewers, Phil.
All right, Gary, we quoted 1 to 1.1 there. A steaming amount of interest in that property.
Steaming?
Steaming. Never used that expression
There
before.
you go.
Steaming amount of interest in that property. Quoted 1 to 1.1 as a result of that steaming interest. The vendor put the reserve at $1,150,000.
Yep.
We flew past that number, Gary, and set a new record price for the area of $1,338,000. So there's a new price record. And I believe the buyers, unfortunately, for this home, because I really like this house, a 60s classic, are they going to build a brand new house there?
Well, they can do what they choose.
Well,
They've
it's
paid
their
the
house
money.
now, Gary.
Not your business anymore.
Assuming they don't knock it over before settlement.
No, that's right. Better
Never
not.
happened to us, actually.
No, it hasn't.
Although, Gary, we have had a bit of trivia for the viewers, won't give the address away. It's interesting, we should probably get a solicitor on screen to talk about this. Should you insure a property once you've bought it
that's right.
prior to settlement?
What
now,
happened there?
if you ring your solicitor, so you buy a property on auction day or a private sale.
Yep.
Now, if you ring your solicitor and say, I've just bought, there's two things your solicitor is probably going to do. He's probably going to lodge a caveat on title, and he's going to recommend, or she's going to recommend, that you take insurance. But it's a bit of a moot point whether you need to take insurance if the vendor's got insurance. But good industry practice from solicitors would say, don't rely on the vendor to have insurance. Take out your own insurance.
Because you have an insurable interest.
You do, Gary. Now, we set up our business in 1986 and never really had a problem with that, except for 2 weeks ago, one of the properties that we did have burnt down prior to settlement. So stay tuned. We'll bring you all of the legal stories on that in weeks to come.
Now,
but doesn't happen very often.
Before the presses are rolling and this is controversialised, let me just say that this was a bit...
Controversialised. Yep. Not sure that that's a Scrabble word.
I've made it up. If it's not a word. If it is, I'm brilliant. If not, well, I've just made it up. This property was going to be knocked down. It was an old home anyway, Philip, so people don't need to worry. No one got hurt in the making of that story.
No animals were hurt in the filming of GPTV either.
2A Flowers Street, Philip. I auctioned that while you were rocking and rolling in your property there in Lockhart, and I got to tell you, Phil, it went real well. The reserve there was $870. It was quoted up to in that somewhere towards that mid-eights, and I dare say the reserve would have been brought down, but it sold for $937,000.
Big strong result.
Well done to the vendors. We're delighted for you. We've had a whole lot of other auctions, Phil, that we're not going to talk about. Some of those. 174 Orrong Road. Interesting, sold the night before auction, an undisclosed amount, but congratulations.
And viewers, we do a bit of that.
Sometimes
the properties do get sold hours or, in fact, the night before, like Orrong Road did. Great property, that one, by the way.
It was a beauty. 19 Scott Street, ELWOOD, Phil, sold for an undisclosed amount.
Yes. Had a Collingwood footballer at that auction being the underbidder, Gary.
There you go. Philip, 8 Cadby Court, not yet sold, still available.
Incredible house, Gary. We did GPTV there last week or the week before. Stunning house. I've got to tell you, that won't take long to sell, I don't think.
My last auction, Philip, on Sunday was at number 9 Kean Street in Caulfield South, a home that I've had a lot of pleasure dealing with. A lot of parties came to that home. But interestingly, fascinatingly, Philip, there were 3 bidders who all just rocked up on the day, and lo and behold, one of those parties bought it. So there is the power of auction right there. We had a number of parties. We had our little list and our form guide, you could call it, if you were crass and you were a racing man.
We call it a pre-auction vendor meeting checklist.
Yes. So the form guide
calls it the form guide.
So the form guide said there were 4 or 5 different buyers interested, Phil, and they were involved and they were there, but 3 people found it on the day and it sold for an undisclosed price, but I can say it was well above reserve.
I just want to tell the viewers, because this is, I just need you to be really clear about this. Yes, Gary is a gambler. He does have his gambling under control. He loves the horses. But I just
big
want,
amounts. I don't gamble
want you
big
to
amounts.
know that our trust account is heavily audited and controlled by Mark Crass, our company accountant. So have no fear. Whatever happens with Gary on the weekend with his form guide, the money's in trust.
And cash deposits
and
untouched.
we've never, ever had a trust account discrepancy.
No, because I keep covering up the books, Philip.
No,
That's
Gary,
not true.
you cannot say that on camera. We've never had a trust account discrepancy.
No, we've never been found to have one.
We have never had a trust account discrepancy.
It's true, and I don't gamble big amounts, Phil, just
You,
little
Gary,
amounts.
you gamble responsibly. And
I
at
do.
Gary Pier and
For
Associates,
fun.
we do not encourage gambling, and we encourage responsible drinking.
Yeah, and I...
I don't know.
Okay, let's talk about the weekend upcoming, Philip, because we've just gone completely mad. We're way off track. We've got a big, juicy weekend of auctions, Philip. Let's
how
review
many
them
have we got,
quickly.
Gary?
I don't know. Let's just go into them. So, Philip, 13 auctions is the answer
The
to
lucky
your question.
13, I was born on the 13th, Gary. Unlucky
You
for
were.
some, probably my mother, but lucky for me because I was born on the 13th. Black Friday, actually.
It was a bloody Black Friday, that Friday. 13, a baker's dozen. We start off, Philip, in Carlingford Street, ELSTERNWICK. Tell us a
Well,
little
we're
bit
not
about
going to
this.
start there, Gary, because that property has been sold prior to auction, so well done to Glenn Bricker and Daniel Rees.
Phil, we're going to the back of Bourke, and not Bourke as the area, but Bourke Street, Mentone. This is a fine property, Philip. It's being auctioned at 11:30 by Leo Samuel. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, that's a stunning property, Gary. 2 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms, and 1 garage or 1 car space. Now, I think the viewers deserve to know, because we talk about 1.5 or 2.5 or 3.5 bathrooms, and the question that we should have been asked by now from the GPT viewers that are on the spot and on the job: how do you have half a bathroom?
Oh,
Gary?
you can have half a shower sometimes. Sometimes I feel like
How
I'm
do you have
gonna
half the bathroom? Well, the half bathroom is generally a guest powder room.
Okay, that was
So
great.
technically, you can't really bathe in a guest powder room, can you?
Not
well,
unless
I
you're very
suppose you
little.
could if you're French.
Or if you've got a
No
baby in
offence
the
to the
basin.
people that live in France, but you know, there's a story in that, and I won't go into that.
Why if you're French?
Well,
Talking about the bidet now.
well, I'm not going to go there, Gary.
Okay.
So, but a half a bathroom is generally a powder room. So if we say 1.5 bathrooms, that's a full bathroom plus the half bathroom's a powder room.
10 at 325 Orrong Road, St Kilda East, Philip. That one's coming up at 11:30 a.m. Why don't you
what
tell
a
us about
great
that?
spot that is, Gary. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, right opposite our office. And I can tell you now, if you're looking for an investment, buy near shops and public transport and near our office, and you'll always get a good tenant, particularly if Gary Pier and Associates manage the property for you. But that's a good investment.
1 at 6 Spring Road, Philip.
Actually, I'm not sure that we can say something's a good investment unless we're licensed investment analysts. So
That's
all we
just
can say,
ridiculous.
in our opinion, that would make a good investment.
You might not
we
be
can't
able to say
actually
that.
tell you that it's a good investment.
We might not even be able to give our opinion.
Well, this is our show and we'll do what we like with it, but it is our opinion that that would make a good investment for the lawyers that are watching. And perhaps some feedback from the lawyers. Can we say it would be a good investment, or are we just required to say it's our opinion?
We'll find out too late, Philip, as they say in the classic
Probably.
experience. It's one of those things that you get just after you needed it.
That's
1
right.
at 6 Spring Road, Philip, Caulfield South. That's 11:30 on Saturday, going up for auction. That's a beauty.
Well,
And
that one has been sold before auction as well, so well done to Joel Sir and Adam Joski on that.
5B Cecil Street in Brighton East. We love it over there in Brighton East, Philip, and this looks like a fantastic single-level villa. Tell us a little about
Well,
it.
Gary, 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, 1 car space. And I've got to say, viewers, Brighton East, great suburb, and we do a lot of business in Brighton East. It's really a very important market to us.
Elza Schilling is selling a property on Malvern East, in Malvern East, on Dandenong Road, and I'm doing the auction, Philip. It's a very affordable opportunity for somebody, and what a great location.
That's a great building, Gary. Walking distance to Monash University Caulfield campus, and walking distance to the massive Dan Murphy's that's there. So, you know, if you're an alcoholic, that's a really good spot
Big
for you
advantage
to
there.
buy.
So we're talking about alcoholism, gambling. Is there anything we haven't covered
No,
yet?
we're going to get on to,
Yeah.
well, I won't
Welcome
say
to the
those.
last episode of GPTV. 47A Rosella Street, Murrumbina, Philip. That's a magnificent looking property. 12:30 on Saturday, Leo Samuel.
Yes, Gary, a really good 4 bedroom, 3 bathroom, 2 car space town residence, complete with lap pool. That's the one, that's like the Big Mac of real estate, Gary. It's the one with a lot.
Big Mac. 72
And we're
Deacon Street.
talking about junk food now too, but there's nothing junk about that property. That's a ripper, just describing it as the Big Mac of real estate.
It's quite frightening how far this This show's got away from property.
Probably not one of our better episodes. I'm not sure that we would have won Most Innovative Agency of the Year nationally if they judged us on this show.
But Most Idiotic Agent, definitely.
Amazing how you win the award and then it just goes downhill from there.
72 Deacon Street, Bentley East. Phillip, tell us about this home. We love Bentley East, and what a great home this looks like.
Gary, this is one that's typical of the era in Bentley East because a lot of Bentley was subdivided in the 40s, 50s and 60s, and this is a typical one of the 1950s. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, plenty of car parking there, renovated kitchen. It's a really stunning home. You can move straight into that one, Gary.
980 Glen Huntley Road goes up, Phillip, on Saturday at 2:30. This is a wonderful town residence. Got that really nice feel about it. Tell us a little about it.
Gary, this is the sort of real estate that young people are clamouring after now because it's really entry level into the market. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, car parking for 2 there. That's a really good property.
Cobden Street's one of the finest streets in Caulfield North, Phillip. There's some beautiful homes there, and there are some lovely period homes. We're getting into Sunday now, 10:30 a.m. This home's been handled by Adam Josky, and I think there's going to be very competitive, Phillip.
Gary, that is a fantastic address, and this is the sort of real estate that I've seen over the years just go up and go up and go up in value. If you're looking for somewhere to live, it doesn't get a better location than that, Gary.
Is it possible, Phillip, still to get a 2-bedroom flat for around $400,000?
Well, surprisingly, it still is.
It may well be. Come along to Kooyong Road and find out, because apartment 12, Phillip, at 9 Kooyong Road, Caulfield North, and that is a ripper apartment, Phil, and that goes up at 10:30 a.m. on Sunday.
And that's between Alma Road and Dandenong Road, so you've got public transport, cafes on your doorstep. You can walk to the Malvern Railway Station, Glenferrie Road. That's a terrific property, terrific address.
You don't associate Orrong Road, Caulfield North as an address that has beautiful views, Phillip, but 201 at 344 Orrong Road, Caulfield North has got a magnificent sweeping view, Phillip, from this fantastic elevated rooftop terrace.
Well, Gary, I was there on the weekend. I did the auction in Lansdowne Road. Was heading to my next auction. Saw Ben Eisner had the property open for inspection, so I dropped in there. What a great property, because you've got your own roof deck up the top with sweeping views.
Wander Road, Caulfield North is home to some beautiful homes and houses, I should say, Phillip, but also there are a couple of amazing apartments. Some of those real rock-solid, fantastic apartments that were built in the 60s. We're offering one.
You were built in the 60s, Gary, and this property is much more rock-solid than you've ever been, and no doubt will outlast you. But this is the entire ground floor there, Gary. It's a fantastic apartment.
At 11:30 a.m, Phillip, 2 at 57 Wander Road is going to be auctioned, and we're looking forward to seeing you there.
Aren't I?
You are, and it looks like it's a beauty.
Terrific.
That is pretty much this weekend wrapped up, Phil. It is going to be a good one. We're finishing a little bit earlier on Sunday this week, and then we have a relaxing rest, Phillip. There's just nothing happening the weekend after because it's Easter, it's Good Friday, Easter Saturday, Easter Sunday, Easter Monday,
Passover,
Easter Tuesday, Passover. So
Gary, the viewers need to know that there's been a stock drop over the last couple of weeks, and the stock drop really is because of the school holidays and the Easter Passover celebration. So there's been a lot less stock on the market in Melbourne, but it will punch up again in a few weeks' time.
And we'll be passing over doing any auctions that weekend because there just won't be any at all.
So splitting my sides.
But we are going to come back next Monday because we're going to have a special episode of GPTV. We're looking forward to bringing you all the news, the results from the weekend, everything that's happening in the real estate world. I'm Gary Pearce.
I'm Phillip Kingston. Thanks for watching. Have a great week.
See ya.